Right. In the last class, we explained about protein synthesis. You guys still had doubts about protein synthesis, so you can shoot those doubts one after the other if you still have them. What particular part you wanted me to cover in protein synthesis that you didn't understand? Some of you had doubts, I remember. No one has any doubts. I remember that day quite a few people had doubts.
So after that conversion,
After
कोडोन
conversion,
से कोडोन
codon,
सर जब कोडोन से एंटी कोडोन में जो कन्वर्जन होता है उसके बाद का नहीं समझ में आ रहा।
codon, anticodon में conversion नहीं होता. Imagine codon as a lock and anticodon as a key. Okay, for every particular lock there is a specific key. For every particular codon there is a specific anticodon. That anticodon will be present on tRNA. Okay, अब जैसा imagine that whole tRNA molecule as a key, and the representation of that codon, meaning only that particular tRNA will go and fix into that codon because of the anticodon. Okay, so imagine that anticodon being the structure of your key, how your key looks. Okay, different ridges and troughs that it has. Imagine those as anticodons that will go and exactly fit into a codon. That is how a tRNA attaches onto a ribosomal molecule or onto a codon. Every tRNA will carry with it its specific amino acid. Okay, अब जो lock है, let's suppose that lock is for key number 1. Okay, meaning that key number 1 basically indicates that number 1 is the amino acid, and that key with amino acid goes and fits into only that particular lock. All right, that's that way every codon is coding for one particular amino acid, because of which only that specific amino acid will come and attach to that codon, because of which that amino acid gets placed here, then protein synthesis continues when the next codon is read. All right, देखो ऐसा mRNA की chain है. यहाँ पर I have, let's suppose, codon number 1. Okay, any codon, and specific to that you will have one tRNA molecule. I'll just draw tRNA molecule like this, and you have an amino acid on top of it like this, and here is the anticodon chain indicating that this anticodon can fit into this codon. It also indicates that only that tRNA molecule with that amino acid can come and attach. So this is a complete single unit for now. Okay, for now. So this single unit will go and attach to that codon on the ribosome whenever it is read by the ribosome. So the ribosome is reading out that codon, calling the name of that amino acid. That amino acid is coming to the site of that mRNA or to the site of that codon using a tRNA transporter, which is tRNA. This fellow comes and attaches here, and eventually ribosome will move towards right. As it moves towards right, your tRNA will move from A site to P site, and the second codon is read, wherein, one second, yeah, the second codon is read. Let's suppose here this is codon number 2 with anticodon tRNA, and let's suppose this is amino acid 2. So this whole unit is, this is 2. Okay, with its own specific anticodon like this. This fellow will come and attach here now. Okay, this will come and attach on the A side, this will come and attach on the P side. When this fellow, the second molecule, has attached, there will be a bond formed between amino acid 1 and amino acid 2. Okay, that is the peptide bond. This is A2 and this is A1. Okay, as soon as that bond is formed, what will happen is this tRNA molecule, the first tRNA molecule, will leave from the exit site. You will have something called the E site, where tRNA molecule has moved or it has exited. Okay. At the same time, when it is getting out, our ribosome will move again towards the right, where it is reading the third codon. Third tRNA will come and attach here. The second tRNA will move towards the left in the P site. Again, at the attachment site, a new tRNA with that specific codon's amino acid will come. Another bond is formed between this A2 and, let's suppose, A3 with specific tRNA like this. So this is 3, right? And the chain continues. So you keep on having tRNA being released out as soon as this peptide bond is formed. Okay. So that is how you keep on increasing the chain of the protein. That is how proteins are synthesized. I hope आप समझ में आया. Anyone else? Any particular doubt? Any particular part that you want me to repeat? No one has any doubts? पूरा clear हुआ? See, this is very important concept. You need to understand it completely. Okay.
सर एक बार रिपीट कर.
एक बार रिपीट करना. कौन सा पर्टिकुलर पार्ट समझ में नहीं आया? पूरा ही समझ में नहीं आया या कहाँ से समझ में नहीं आया?
पूरा सर.
पूरा ही समझ में नहीं. So you don't know what is ribosome, you didn't understand what is an mRNA molecule, what is tRNA, what is amino acid, nothing.
उतना समझ में आया सर.
वही मैं पूछ रहा हूँ कहाँ तक समझ में आया, so I can address exactly what you don't understand. Does not make sense.
अटैच होता तो वही समझ में आया.
अटैच होता सो देखो यहाँ पर mRNA का चेन है. Alright, so this is the mRNA. Right, it has codons on it, nucleotides with three triplets. Basically, they are read as triplets. So UAA, UAG, AG, AUG, and वैसा triplets में read करते हो उसको. ठीक है? That triplet represents one particular name. Here मैं name बोल रहा हूँ. That imagine it as a name of an amino acid. So whenever that codon is read, that amino acid has to come and attach to this mRNA chain. Okay, how it attaches is, this fellow is read by one particular cell organelle on your body called, or in your body called ribosome. ठीक है, ribosome का larger subunit comes and attaches this way, and the smaller subunit attaches beneath the mRNA chain, and it will perform the action of protein synthesis by literally reading the codons. Okay, so let's suppose it is reading codon number 1, and when it reads codon number 1, that refers to amino acid 1. This amino acid needs a transporter to come and attach here. That transport is provided by one particular molecule called tRNA, transporter RNA. ये transporter RNA के ऊपर one specific type of amino acid will be attached. ठीक है? How we know the specificity is because this codon will have an exact anticodon present on tRNA. Only this anticodon can come and attach to this codon. No other anticodon can come and attach, because यहाँ पर जैसा sequence है उसका exact opposite sequence इधर रहता. So for example, this is A, U and G. You will have, yeah, you will have U, A and C. ठीक है? That is how. So exactly opposite उसका हो रहा था. This fellow will come and attach to AUG because it is exactly opposite. This is an anticodon. Okay, you will get amino acid specific to this, not to this. Okay, you get amino acid specific to the codon that you have, not the anticodon. ठीक है? हर एक codon will code for one particular amino acid, meaning one code is there for one amino acid. All right. Whenever this is read by the ribosome, this tRNA molecule will come here and attach here. Okay, so tRNA came, attached here along with amino acid 1. All right, initially it will attach to a particular site called amino acyl site or A site. All right, after attachment, ribosome moves towards right. Okay, as soon as it moves towards right, it will be able to read ribosome number 2, codon number 2 here. When it reads codon number 2, it is basically reading, or it is being coded for another amino acid, for a different amino acid. Okay, so यहाँ तक समझ में आया what is happening? Amino acid 1 is
Yes,
being
sir.
read and coming and attaching here. Whenever the second codon is read, you will have another tRNA molecule specific to this fellow. So you have another sequence here. Let's suppose you have C, C and C here. Okay, 3 codons here. You can have 64 combinations. Okay, you have basically 4 codons with triplet, right? So you can get 64 combinations, out of which 3 are stop codons, meaning whenever those codons comes, protein synthesis will stop. Otherwise, you have 61 codons through which you can make a chain of 61, or you can make bigger chains as well. As long as you do not get a stop codon, the chain continuously is being made. All right. So let's suppose this is amino acid 1. Let's suppose this is the shape of that amino acid A2, and this is the tRNA molecule that has this specific anticodon. So this will have G, G and G anticodon. This fellow will come and attach here. Now, because your ribosome moved towards right, what will happen is tRNA molecule 1 containing amino acid 1 will move towards left. It will go to P site or peptidyl site. यहाँ पर पेप्टाइड बॉन्ड फॉर्मेशन होता है, इसलिए पेप्टिडाइल साइट बोलते हैं इसको. Okay, once it moves towards the left, it is making space for the new tRNA molecule to come and attach. As soon as that codon is read, codon 2 is read, tRNA2 containing amino acid 2 will come and attach to the A site again, because A site is free now. This fellow will come here with here amino acid 2. Okay. Now, as soon as this amino acid comes, what will happen is there will be a bond formed in between amino acid 1 and amino acid 2. Okay. I'll represent it like this. Let's suppose this is the bond, right? That gray colored bond. That bond is a peptide bond. All right. It occurs between amino acids. We already discussed what are peptide bonds. CONH bonds are peptide bonds. Okay. As soon as this bond is formed, what will happen is this is all a simultaneous process. Okay. As soon as this fellow comes and attaches, the bond is formed. As soon as the bond is formed, this fellow will move again towards the right. The ribosome will move towards the right to read the next codon. So it is reading the third codon now, and specific to that codon, another tRNA molecule with a different amino acid. So it can be, let's suppose this is the amino acid A3, and this has that particular anticodon. See, here I am giving an example where 3 different amino acids are attaching. We can also have the same amino acid sequence as well, meaning you can have AUG, AUG, AUG. In the sense, first codon is AUG, second codon is AUG, third codon is AUG. Meaning you will have 3 what do you call methionine molecules coming and attaching in sequence. That sequence can be in any form as long as top codon does not come. Okay. Basically, to put it in a very crude sense, I am basically calling out Alan, 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 or I'm calling Akshara, Akshara, Akshara. I can call in any format I want. Okay, I can call Akansha, I can call Rijum, I can call Alan, or I can call Alan, Alan, Rijum, Alan, Akansha, Akshara, any particular way. Okay, that is how codons will be placed. As long as top codon does not come, that propagation of chain keeps on continuing. Okay, these amino acids are specific to that codon, but there is no particular sequence of codon that is set. Meaning ये codon आया तो next this codon ही आना बोल के नहीं है. Okay, any particular sequence can come as long as chain propagation occurs. All right. यहाँ पर third tRNA molecule will come with the third amino acid. So you have A3. A new bond will be formed between A2 and A3, and consequently, whenever a new bond is formed, this tRNA molecule which had that amino acid, that fellow will get out of the ribosome, so that if another codon comes which is reading for that particular amino acid, let's suppose A1 के लिए फिर एक codon आया, let's suppose this codon is coding for A1, this tRNA will go search in your cytoplasm for another molecule of methionine and bring it here. All right, that is what it is doing. As soon as it has transported the molecule, it will get back into the cytosol, try to find another molecule of methionine and bind to it, being ready whenever in case another codon is being read, that fellow will come and attach. That is how chain propagation occurs. Okay, I hope abhi samajh mein aaya. Chain propagation.
Yes.
Okay. At the end of protein synthesis, you will have one tRNA molecule and a chain looking something like this. So you will have all these amino acids that were donated by different or that were transported by different tRNA molecules, and this is how you're making a chain. Okay, so basically आप 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 codons को read करें, because of which 7 amino acids came and they got attached to this point. At one point what will happen, you will get a stop codon, wherein यहाँ पर let's suppose it is reading for a stop codon, meaning it will not code for any amino acid. If it does not read for any amino acid, what will happen is chain propagation will stop. So that is how you get a octapeptide basically. Okay, that is how a protein synthesis occurs. I hope it is clear to all of you now. All right, so we have
So So if codons just it came, वो जब आ जाता है तो फिर ये प्रोटीन सिंथेसिस भी स्टॉप कर जाएगा.
हाँ, wait, to stop protein synthesis, those, see, you cannot have what you call codons completely continuously being read and proteins infinitely being formed. If you continuously keep on making proteins, that might be a mutation. You will get unnecessary proteins as well because of that. Okay, there is a finite number of proteins or a finite number of amino acid molecules that need to come in a protein to that, for that protein to perform a particular function. Okay, let's suppose I am talking about अलग अलग प्रोटीन्स है, albumin है, globulin है, fibrinogen है, etc. Okay, several types of proteins. Each protein has a very specific structure. Specific माने it will start at one point and stop at one point, irrespective of where that point is. It is starting at some point and it is ending at some point. That is how you get that protein molecule. If you do not have a stop to that protein molecule, you will lose the function of that protein, or you might make a different protein than required or than desired by your body, right? That is why whenever a stop codon comes, protein synthesis will stop because it cannot be read. Think of it like a blank, imagine आप एक sheet लिए, oh dear, one second. Imagine you took a sheet of paper and on that you have one name, second name, third name, fourth name, fifth name, sixth name, and beneath that you do not have any name. So you have serial numbers here, 1 2 3 4 5 6. Seventh is blank, meaning you will have 6 amino acids that are coming. Seventh cannot be read because there is nothing there. Okay, your stop codon is something like that. It will not code for any amino acid, because of which you cannot read it out, or your your ribosome will not be able to read it. That is when protein synthesis will stop. Okay, समझ में आया?
Yes sir.
Okay, I hope all of you understood what is protein synthesis. Please feel free to ask me any doubts. Okay.
Sir,
Hmm.
protein synthesis is just like translation. It is translation, no?
हाँ,
Okay, sir.
technically translation नहीं, transcription बोल, yeah, translation है actually. Transcription then translation, yes. You're literally translating the codon. It is in one language, you are translating it into the language of amino acids. ठीक है? आपके डीएनए से आरएनए बना जब, आई एम श्योर आप लोगों को कहीं ना कहीं पढ़ाए होंगे ना ट्रांसक्रिप्शन एंड ट्रांसलेशन इन some other subjects. ये basic subjects will be having similar concepts, maybe in microbiology or in physiology or somewhere or the other you'll learn a little bit. Right.
Yes, sir.
Coming to the next one, plasma proteins. You have small topics left in amino acids. We'll hopefully cover that up and finish amino acids today. So specifically, there are 3 important plasma proteins. Okay, you have albumin, globulin, and fibrinogen. Albumin, globulin, and fibrinogen. Now, albumin, the normal level of albumin that you will generally find in your blood is around 3.5 to 5.5 mg per dl. Okay, be careful of the units. If you are converting it into some other unit, this will change. Okay, so albumin kya hai? This fellow is manufactured by your liver and it will serve as a binding protein. It will help in transport. Okay, it will bind to different molecules. It might be drugs, it might be any other molecule present in your blood, and it will help in transport of that molecule. Specifically, fatty acids and steroid hormones, they are transported using albumin, and it will contribute to the osmotic pressure of the blood, meaning it will hold water inside blood vessel. So if I have a blood vessel like this, whenever albumin is present here, let's suppose this is an albumin molecule, this will make sure that there is enough osmotic pressure inside your blood vessel so that all the blood does not simply leak out. Okay, so that blood pressure is maintained. You need to have certain volume of blood to maintain a certain pressure. If you want to have a normal pressure of 120 by 80 mmHg, for that blood pressure you need a certain volume of blood. If because of any reason, let's suppose volume of blood is decreasing, your BP will eventually fall, because of which one compensatory mechanism that your body does is increase albumin level. Okay, that can happen in your body. If you increase the vertical agent that is increasing osmotic pressure, in turn more amount of fluid will be retained inside your blood vessel, because of which BP can spike in the sense it will come back to normal. Right, maintenance of blood volume and blood pressure is one of the important functions of albumin. Okay, because it draws water out of tissues as well, sometimes to maintain that pressure. All right, so that is about albumin. Coming to globulin, you have three specific types of globulins. You have alpha, beta, and gamma globulin. Okay, gamma globulins are commonly known as immunoglobulins. Okay, they are involved in immunity. We've already discussed what immunoglobulins are, so we need not go into detail about that. Gamma globulins are basically immunoglobulins. Alpha and beta globulins, they are transporter proteins. Okay, your alpha and beta globulins will transport iron, they will transport lipid molecules, they will transport fat soluble vitamins, okay, A, D, E, K, and they will also contribute to maintenance of osmotic pressure, to make sure that you have enough amount of pressure in your blood vessels to maintain proper blood pressure. Another thing, recently one of your classmates reminded me, long ago I gave you an assignment about vitamins. I'm not sure whether you guys are following up on assignments or not, but the topic of vitamins, now that I discussed about vitamins, abhi yaad hai, vitamins ka topic I gave you as an assignment, I think ages ago, don't remember when, but sometime long before lockdown. Please make sure you do that. It's not exactly a complicated chapter, I don't really need to go over that chapter. It is the same as your intermediate, maybe slight progression. Okay, not more than that, it is pretty much the same. All right, make sure you do the assignment properly. All right. Now, coming back to globulins, as I was telling, alpha and beta globulins are very important transport proteins. And about gamma globulins, one important thing is that this fellow is specifically made by plasma B cells. Okay, this can also be made by plasma B cells. That is one important function, in the sense that whenever there is inflammatory reaction, or if there is a tissue injury, or there is some agent that can damage your cells, in those conditions your plasma B cells can produce specific immunoglobulins to counter that toxin or that pathogen, whoever is present. All right, now normal levels of your globulin will be around 2 to 3.5 mg per dl. 2 to 3.5 mg per dl. Right, coming to the next one, fibrinogen. Now I'm sure fibrinogen, अब तक blood clotting हुई नहीं हुई, ever नहीं हुई? Okay, I'll assume that नहीं हुई. Yeah, normal level of fibrinogen is around 200 to 400 mg per dl. The function of fibrinogen is that it will play a very important role in clotting, okay, blood clotting. So this is normally produced by a liver, but technically all of your plasma proteins are made by a liver. Almost all of them are made in the liver. That is why proper functioning of liver is very important. In any case, this is a glycoprotein complex molecule that will be involved in vascular injury, in the sense that whenever there is injury, it can be inflammatory injury, it can be a pathogenic injury, any type of injury is occurring. At that point of time, there is a chance that bleeding can occur. At that particular time, the production of fibrinogen, or the response of fibrinogen in your blood will increase markedly. Sometimes production will also increase depending on the amount of bleeding that is occurring. Okay, what will happen is fibrinogen will be converted into fibrin. So you have, I'll just write Fg, fibrinogen will be converted into a particular molecule called fibrin using a molecule called thrombin. So use thrombin. See, these are different factors of clotting. Okay, once you come across clotting factors and the clotting cascade, you will understand what it is. It is one reaction that mediates another reaction that mediates another reaction. That is how clotting cascades occur. Meaning the first compound that is made, or the first compound that is being formed, that fellow will catalyze the reaction of second molecule to third molecule. This third molecule will catalyze the reaction between fourth molecule to fifth molecule, and so on. The reaction continues. One of the important steps in clot formation is conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin. Okay, almost one of the last steps, because fibrin will directly go to your site of injury or to the site wherever bleeding is occurring, and it will make sure that a mesh-like structure is formed in your what you call near that site of injury, so that those thrombocytes that are coming, the platelets that are coming, they are stuck together and a proper clot is formed. Okay, just your platelets are not enough to form a clot. You need something like fibrin to bind them together. Okay, collagen will be formed, fibrin will be formed. When you will have a what do you call plug like structure being formed. So imagine this is a blood vessel which has injury. Okay, imagine this is a blood vessel and यहाँ पर injury हुआ. Okay, that empty site is where a puncture hole has occurred. Okay, for example यहाँ पर puncture हुआ. So what will happen is यहाँ पर platelets will come, but the thing is that they'll not exactly be that sticky, even though they are sticky, but you need to make sure that the clot completely blocks the exit of blood. Okay, you do not want blood rushing out like this. Okay, that will cause sharp fall in BP and the patient might die because of hemorrhage. Okay, internal hemorrhage or external hemorrhage. So because of that, what will happen is platelets will come to this spot, and at this spot you will have small strands of so strands of fibrin and collagen will come into this place, and they'll make sure, imagine them as glue. Okay, they will make sure that platelets stick together and they in turn stick to that hole. Okay, so that what do you call bleeding stops. Okay, that is essentially how clotting works. You'll understand it in a little more detail once you study about clotting in detail, but this is how basically clotting works. Okay, you form plugs and you plug the hole. All right, so that is about plasma proteins. Now coming to electrophoresis, we have another small topic called electrophoresis. It see please check in your textbook once whether or not the textbook that I sent, whether it is present or not, because in some textbooks electrophoresis nahi rehta, and you only have very brief levels of electrophoresis. You don't need to go into detail about electrophoresis. Okay. Now electrophoresis is basically a separation method. Okay, electrophoresis. This is a method of separation of different molecules. You basically try to determine the number or the amount or the mobility of certain compounds in a sample. Okay, let's suppose I have one particular sample. Okay, in that I have a few proteins indicating some particular disease, or it can indicate any particular patient's condition, whatever it might be. Or one simple example, let's suppose I'm taking a patient who is suffering from, let's suppose, disease number 1, and there are some proteins present inside their blood. Okay, let's suppose these are the proteins that are present inside their blood along with normal proteins. Okay, you know there are some normal proteins that are present in your blood as well. Electrophoresis is a method through which you can separate these proteins and find out whether or not the patient has that particular condition, or what all types of protein that patient has. See, here I'm taking only one example where I'm taking a patient and I'm taking what they call a particular disease. It can be anything. It can be a solution with certain compounds. It can be carbohydrate, it can be fats, anything. You're basically using charge, okay, electricity. You're passing electricity through a particular medium and trying to separate different molecules so that you can identify them later. That is electrophoresis. Okay, you use it to determine the number, the amount, the mobility of compounds in a given sample and to separate them, and to know what you call uh, about electrical double charge that is surrounding that particle. So around some particles you will have a particular double charge. Okay, to determine what type of charge that particle has, you can perform electrophoresis. Those are the basic two reasons why you perform electrophoresis. I'll explain what you call paper electrophoresis so you'll understand a little better what is electrophoresis in general. Someone's audio is on, please check. Right, 1 second, I'll just take your attendance. We can continue after that. Ishan, Akanksha, Akshang, Helen, Archana, uh, B. Ratama is post BSc, right? I'm not.
Hello, sir.
Hello. Yeah,
Yes,
you're
sir.
post BSc, right? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Madhulika as well. Madhulika post BSc है या BSc है?
Post BSc, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
All right. Lavanya as well, right? Post BSc. Lavanya. Reshma Begum is post BSc.
Yes, sir.
Okay. ओके एक बार चेक करो किशन आकांक्षा अक्षरा एलन अर्चना अश्मा कीर्तना बालाजी यारी रजुम एलिजाबेथ ज्योति लवली अदनान मोइज राहफुद्दीन राजकुमार श्रीलक्ष्मी and Yampa. These are BSc. Ratamma Madhulika Lavanya and Reshma Begum. These are post BSc. हो रहा है?
Yes, sir.
19
Yes,
and
sir.
4. Yeah, correct. Okay. So as we are discussing about paper electrophoresis, so I'll do paper electrophoresis, then you can understand a little better. We'll do the other electrophoresis tomorrow. So इसमें क्या करते हैं? You basically take a buffer solution. Hold on, I'll show you the image itself. It'll be easier for you to understand. Yeah. So look at this image. Now what is happening here is I take two solutions, okay? They are buffer. Now one thing you need to remember is this separation of molecules that I'm doing at a particular pH, okay? I have to maintain that pH because at different pH your molecule can have different charges, okay? Because of isoelectric point. Now you have to maintain one particular pH specific to that molecule that you're trying to find. Now आप क्या करते हैं एक एनोड लगाते हैं कैथोड लगाते हैं at one end. Okay, the anode will attract anions and cathode will attract cations. All right, that is why it has negative and positive charge respectively. Now on top of that, so basically you make a bridge like structure. Okay, on that bridge you put up paper. Okay, you can use what you call different types of paper. You get different sheets of paper for that particular electrophoresis. In that what you do is something like Wattman paper can be used, okay, if you really want to be specific. Now you put a Wattman paper on that, you initially put a little bit of sample on that paper and you what do you call place the paper on that glass sheet. Okay, you will have a big glass like bridge here, and on that bridge you are putting the paper and you make sure that two slabs are present on the top of that paper so that the paper does not fly away. Okay, and to just make sure that it is set in place. As soon as you put that, you switch the battery on, wherein you're vertical making sure that charge is flowing through the whole setup. So from plus to minus and minus to plus there is continuous electricity. Whenever charge is applied, what will happen is this sample which is present on your paper, they will start moving specific to their charge. So if one sample molecule has positive charge, it will move towards the cathode, and whichever sample has whichever particles have negative charge, they will move towards anode. And depending on the size of those molecules, so if it is a very big molecule, it will move slowly and it will not move very far. If it is a small molecule, it will move far away and it will move fast. Okay, so as soon as you start applying electricity, what will happen is these see यहाँ पर in the middle you can see sample spot, right? From those sample spot you will start seeing bands. Okay, you will see different molecules moving here and there. After that movement, what you do is you take the paper out and you stain the paper using a dye. Okay, you use one particular type of dye and you stain the paper. Once you stain the paper, you will be able to see different bands on your, one second. So you'll be able to see different bands on your paper sheet. So for example, if I have a paper sheet like this, let's suppose this is my paper sheet, okay, through which I initially either sample डाला था. Let's suppose this is the sample that I put. Okay, it had different molecules initially. As soon as I applied electricity, what happens is cations will move towards cathode and anions will move towards anode. Meaning some molecules, now again depending on the size also it will differ. So I have a big molecule with a positive charge and I have a small molecule with a positive charge. This fellow will move far away. So I will get a proper line of small molecules like this which are moving far away, and I will get a line of big molecules which are moving far away towards the cathode, towards the negative end, because these are positive molecules. Similarly, you will have negative molecules, anion. So imagine this is a big anion and this is a small anion. You will again get another line where this fellow is moving far away, small, because it is small, it will move farther away and it will move quicker. And these larger molecules will move vertical. It will not move a lot, and what will happen is you will get a line somewhere around here. They'll stop early as well. Okay. Because of this, as soon as you stain this paper, you put a little bit of dye on the paper, you will get different bands like this. You will be able to isolate these bands and identify what is that type of molecule that is present inside the band. All right, that is how, or you'll be able to basically discern what type of molecules were present in that sample. All right, so let's suppose you had protein 1, protein 2, and molecule 1, some other molecule, and molecule 2. Because of this, you'll be clearly able to identify whether or not molecule 1 was present, or molecule 2 was present, or protein 1 was present, protein 2 was present, whatever type of molecule were present. All right, that is how electrophoresis works. Okay, we'll get into a little bit more detail in the next class. For now, we'll stop here. All right, see you in the